Okay, awesome. We're live. This is our part 3. This is our final planned stream, planned work day, but that doesn't mean we won't be back, that Tammie won't be back working in this project for us. But anyway, I'm Kim Coleman. I'm here with Tammie Lister. We are building a block theme in public. We're building a new theme for Paid Ownership Pro sites called Cashflow. You can go to cashflowtheme.com or demo.cashflowtheme.com to see our progress. We have links to the open source GitHub repository and other resources for you. So thank you, Tammie, for joining me. We're going to dive right into kind of debriefing our progress and lots of question marks.
Yes. Yes. So I guess where we are, for those of you that have been following along and all those kind of cliche phrases, is we've gone through the kind of traditional way that you go up. You go from setting your intentions in the theme JSON file with your colors and your styling, and then you go up through patterns, and then we went to defining some specific block styling, and then for core blocks, and we went through there. Should we do core blocks? Should we do block styles? And then now we're on the template parts and templates. But you did a load of work in the meantime. So I guess in awesome way. So we cap in that. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to move this. So if I look a little bit weird, like I'm looking at the side, I'm putting the video here so I can share my whole screen, which is probably a better way to just kind of maneuver around as we learn on the platform. See, learning as we go through these streams. It's always super awesome. Let's share that one. So where we are at, this theme has grown is the best way that I can describe this theme. And I think when it started, it had like just the theme JSON, and then we use the create block plugin, theme plugin, and then it just had a few things. So now we have the assets folder with the CSS, the fonts, the images I've just moved from the pattern, so I put the images now there. I think I caught them all, but like Pokemon, there might be a stray one somewhere. So we need to be 100% sure we're we don't find one. We're going to get onto that in a minute. Then we've got some parts. We've got some more parts than when you went to sleep, so we can get into that. And patterns, again, we've got some more. We're going to start this session by talking about hidden patterns as well, which I think is a kind of curious concept to start thinking about. And then we've got styles, and then we've got templates, and then we've got a discussion today we're also going to have about styling, where do you put it? So I guess this kind of leads to hidden. So this is something that 2024 kind of brought this concept in. It's not a new concept of things that you see or don't surface. So if you look, insert a no is a good example. There's parts of template that are template parts and patterns that are really useful to see or have in templates, but you just don't need to make them visible. A good example of that is no results. A good example of that is search, 404, different things, but it's a way to have them reusable or a way to not just have them loose code floating around. Why you might want that is if you are working predominantly in this code, or you wanted to have it on a repo and you wanted to sync it. That's kind of the best way of putting it. So what I've done is I've pulled out some of your stuff and combined some stuff with 2024. So what we will need to do, maybe not today, but also you will need to be aware of, is you have a bit of a mixture. So I'll kind of go through what you have here. So let's maybe start with a template. So 404 is a good example. So we have hidden 404, because you don't necessarily want to have the 404 that someone would just drop into page.html. I mean, they could, but also
do that.
So you could put, if you wanted, a cute picture here, or whatever you wanted, or your search form, or whatever. So you have a unique pattern for your 404 here that doesn't show in the inserter. So that's just a way of having these things there, is the best way to describe it. I don't know what you think about that.
If people are in the site editor and they're editing the 404 template,
yes,
they can move it
you
up
can
and
still
down.
Edit this. It just you can move it up and down. You can still edit it. You can do everything. It just means it's not available to browse.
Okay, so it won't show up other way. Okay.
Yeah, so if you went into the 404, and let's test that theory, always good to test these theories. If you go into the dashboard I like being super sure about everything I do. We go to themes, and we go to editor actually. We go to templates, and we go to okay. This is because we're doing block recovery, and we need to just do this a second. Okay, we're just going to have to do this a second because goodness me. Bear in mind we've. Okay, right. Are you happy now? Thank you.
Getting there.
I think this was because, and we will need to double check this, because we had old versions of the patterns and then we converted the new versions of the patterns. That's what I think why they're doing that, but we need to double check that because I have had those as well, and we've also got these menus as well. So we need to check that. So here you have, this is the pattern that has been pulled through. So you still have this pattern, but it's hidden, so it's not a pattern, if that all makes sense. So you still got it here. Yeah, so you see all the parts, so 404 not found, 404 not found, this page, but it's not visible as a pattern. So if you go to here, and we go to our patterns, you don't see it here.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe it. But what you do see, which we can have a discussion about, is membership home being a pattern, and that's kind of a curious big one. We also probably need to not have that as an insertable as well. We're going to add that because that's a big one, and that's from 2024's example again. Let's put that not being browsable. Well, we might want that browsable. It depends on our feeling, because 2024, unless I'm mistaken, might make that browsable. Let me just pull it up for us. And we have 2024, 2024, 2024. We have about 100 different themes at the moment. Oh, we don't. Let's open it here.
I'm gonna look in the
or the GitHub. So with this one, so they don't hide it, which is kind of curious. So what they just have is the template. Do they hide the template? Nope. So you just still can browse it and still can do it, and we can decide whether we do that or not. So what this allows you to do is have this, the starter templates. So when you start and you can pick those layouts, that's what you have the capacity to do. So what we've done by doing this means, if we open this one, when you first pick, so say we go here and we do, let's go to templates, and we go to templates, and we do see if this works. And so we went pages, and we went sample. It would come here, and then if we had another one, we could also pick one as well. So you're having some default options basically that you can have. I also put a blogging one because what I thought is the front homepage might either want to be membership or blogging.
Yes.
And it depends on kind of the options there. That excuse me, we do not need you to start validating PHP. Thank you very much. The one thing that I find that 2024 does quite interestingly is it has, so if you look at homepage, it does business, template business, but you have template home, blogging, home business, home portfolio. So you can have the different ones depending on what you want. These are not inserter, so that's not inserter, that's not inserter, and that's not inserter as well for those. They are patterns though. The patterns are not inserter.
Okay.
So it's up to you what you want to kind of show. So in R1, we have the page, home blogging, and so we could put not insert it in there, and the page home. So do we want to hide those ones as well? I feel we do.
They would still show up potentially when you go to page, add new, that interface.
Because we've got
they would still show up there as starters, but they just wouldn't be allowed to be inserted as like a huge pattern.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
I don't know what the argument is to disallow that. I guess.
So I think, unless I'm right, let me test the theory.
It's only a combination of all the other patterns, so it's essentially useless.
Well, I want to test what happens if you do that. Does it also impact this? Because that would be helpful if it also impact this. Yes, so it also means you don't see it here, which is helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. You wouldn't want it there because
Yeah. So
it's
in
just
certain
duplicating. I
links,
think that makes
don't
sense.
show it in any browser, basically.
Yeah.
So you also know on Hero, I did add something because when I added Hero here, so this is how I formed the homepage. Hero didn't have a group wrap around it. So what I've currently done is, if we look at front page, is front page active on this? Let me just determine. Oh, it might be. Yes. So this is our default homepage, and it may not be this at all. 100%, it could not be this. But I put it like this. The other thing that I did, because really rather than calling a pattern, is these are now template parts. So these are directly having the templates in them. It's just kind of an easier way of just calling them through rather than having footers here as patterns. It's just not really needed on top of that as well. So unless you have multiple different footers, and then you can change different template parts and different footers. So that's
the only reason, I guess, the argument to make it is that it's translatable that way, or you can because this is HTML, but you can use PHP in it safely.
What are you trying to translate in here?
In footer.html, there's PHP to translate the.
Oh yes, I just
to echo the date. That's the argument to make it a PHP.
Yes, you are going to need to if you put that in here. That's not going to work, and that's what my computer was complaining about then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about header? I think header also has some translation strings, and that's probably why we're getting angry.
Yeah. Okay. So the problem you've got is it's not pulling it through, though, if you have it as PHP, because it wasn't pulling it through.
Okay. When you do it as a.
So what I was noticing, which I found quite curious, and I would have expected it to, because if we looked at this, if you look at this, where you have footer.php here, and you have all the translation strings, and then footer.html, so you're putting in footer like this. Let me see if I can actually do this time, and it works, because it's going to work the time that I said it didn't work.
That's how things work.
Of course. So let's follow exactly the example. Oh, okay, let's not follow the example and pretend that we're nowhere near the code, because that's really helpful. So we do that, because then we're doing an exact call, Cashflow, and then we copied all of this into just footer.php. When I came to it this morning, it wasn't loading. That's why I pulled it in. And I'm also curious now why it loads in the PHP errors.
That might be related up to the HTML trying to have like.
Yeah, but it didn't error. It loads the footers. It's just not okay. Anyway, I'm going to pretend that didn't happen. Okay, footer.php. Okay. No. Oh, come on. I did just copy that. Come on. Okay. Thank you. Copy. Thank you. Paste. Thank you. And what do we want to do? We want to do. I don't really want to do anything special with it, do we? Don't want to insert it, maybe. But let's not do anything special. Just call it footer. Footer. Let's see if now footer works. You know it's going to work now, don't you?
I hope so. I don't mind a little gremlin that changes.
I do, though, because I changed it wrong. I don't mind if it now works.
We want consistency.
Yeah, totally. Templates. Okay. Yeah, well, you can just complain as much as you want. So now that's not complaining. Okay. Well, obviously it's going to now work. Okay, fine. Let's do the same with header and see if you're now.
So the PHP gets called by the HTML part gets.
If this works as well, yes.
And the
Let's
HTML
see.
part gets loaded in the full page pattern. No, the full page template loads the HTML
so what we're
part.
doing now is we're doing this. Header. Does allow us to do alternate headers this way.
Okay.
But this morning this was not loading. Then it loaded the other way, which is really frustrating. Okay. Knowing every bit of luck, I changed something else that then made it work, because that's what always happens. So header. Okay, we don't need multiple headers, do we? So we don't need header default, header not default, header whatever.
The only reason we might is with theming for dark mode, but I think that's another part of our conversation, so we don't have to address it now because you had another approach to suggest there.
Yeah. So now we've got header.php, that's got everything in. And now what are you going to do? Are you going to be grumpy or happy? Grumpy or happy? I mean, you're still being relatively grumpy. So,
yeah. It's Monday. We allow.
What is it grumpy about here? What does it not like here? So it's after the join now. That's nothing to do with what is it having a fit about there? That's not even the header it's having a fit about.
Join now is in a button in the header, but
it's having an issue about pattern placeholders, which is curious. Okay. Oh, is it having an issue about the templates we've made? So I just did some theory. Okay, what are you having an issue with? So we've got now membership flow, Cashflow, hero. Okay, that one exists there, doesn't it? So we've got hero, and then we've got grid 6. The CTA, text with CTA exists. It does, doesn't it? Text with CTA exists. Text with CTA. So where is text with CTA? Is that what you're having a problem with? So there's 2 here that it's having issues with. And there's 5. So there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I pulled through. And there's only 3 showing. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3. So it's 2 of these patterns are not working. I think that's what it's complaining about. I do template. Yeah. Oh. So it's complaining about so is it this one? Text with CTA. Do we have to do lowercase? Do we have to do lowercase? Is that literally what you're complaining about? That absolutely could be it. No. I love how good these are. No. I mean, did that just solve one of them though? I think that just solved one of them. Yeah, that solved one of them.
That's good.
Okay. I love how good these error messages are. Because I was going by this, but we have to go by this, not this. What's this though? That is, so it's header. So it's hero. So in hero we have block alignment. What are you moaning about? Separator. Is that what you're moaning about? No, you're not moaning about that. You're not moaning about that. What happened? Well, now you just went weird. So it's separate. Comments. Welcome. Separator. Attempt block. So it's separator.
Like something in that pattern.
Doesn't like separator. This is what it doesn't like. So if I get separator wave, doesn't like that somehow. it doesn't like both of these. So let's try this. This is a block and a group and a group. I don't know if that's going to work, but let's try. No, I just made it worse. No, I just made it 100% worse. So I'm just seeing these are different. That's a line 4. That's a line. Okay, what I'm going to do is take these fully away and see if that fixes it. To see, like, I'm trying to diagnose the problem is like, oh, okay, so that is definitely it. Okay, so if we then make this,
so that has to have a group.
Yeah, because we want that alignment, right?
Oh yeah. Well, not the. If we put it on the whole thing, it's going to break the ability to edge to edge.
Yeah, we're not having alignments on groups here, though. We seem to have lost alignments.
Because the group itself is using constraint or unconstrained.
Yeah. Yeah, inner blocks use content widths. Okay, let's just do that back. So we have a group. It also depends. Do you want this on the front of the header if someone has a home business? Because if you don't, we don't need to debug this.
Yeah, that would be the first piece on that home banner. But you can leave it, and I can do the.
So what we can easily do is add a group that has a fixed layout, and then just put it inside rather than just putting it on its own. So do it like that. Inner blocks constrained, and then in theory, thank you for being completely awkward. So this is the one, and then if we put it inside, it should.
Yeah, there you go.
Should. Did I do it? I think I did it. Well, no, those ones went inside as well. So you do not need to join the party. You can come.
Everything has to be. You can't just have like a columns section. That's interesting.
I think that's what we want, isn't it? I think the header just went a bit strange there. Isn't that what we want? Maybe.
Looks good to me. I might reorder some things. But that's all just kind of late decisions.
Like that. It's kind of what we want.
Closer.
Ish. So now, what would you like? Because we can edit it and then we'll export it and then we'll put it in the template, because that's a kind of a good indication of like how you add it into template. So what else would you like to adjust here?
I think the hero columns have to be a line wide.
Okay. Oh, now we can do it. See? Dunk.
Yeah. And then I think I'd move the block, the group below to the last on the page before footer. That's kind of like the catch-all final grab ya.
Like that?
Maybe let's move the features below.
Features is this
no, let's move satisfied customers below elevate, and then we'll have kind of good striping, and we'll have
which one do you want? Sorry,
let's move the that one.
This
let's
one?
see what ours. Yeah, let's move that down one.
So that.
Yeah, let's do that.
We go.
And it's kind of like
colors.
What we do. CTA features grid, then cell on our plan, then join catch all. Yeah, that works.
Okay. So now, if we were happy with that template, I'm going to ignore you. If we were happy with the template, in theory, we would then export the template. And so we now have the template downloaded, and then we download the template, and then we get the template, and then we open it, and then we see what it's given us. So this is the way that we get the adjusted template. Yay! Without being grumpy at us. And all we cared about was home. So we have to be careful because whether it's done any
Does it
changes.
still leverage the patterns? Can't it still leverage the patterns so we don't have to like duplicate that every time?
It's probably not done that, but what we can look at is what it's done around the group block is specifically what I want to look at now.
Yeah, we want it to just pull the patterns in. Then they're
and I want to know what it's done around the group block, and I also want to know what it's done with the order because we changed the order just now as well. So specifically, it was around this. So we have columns block around this one. So this is the header, and then we have the heading for complete performer. So it's like that. We have, because it also doesn't do translation as well, if you look.
Yeah, but if we pull in the pattern parts, then we're good. I think what we might end up needing to do is put that group on the hero pattern.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here though. Look, so it's firstly align center, margin wide. So it's got a main now group block around
Which is
it.
good, I think, for like the meat.
And then it goes down.
That might be leaning us into the schema piece that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so I think the main closes. Oh, hello. Where does main close? Okay, now I'm going to just search for you. Yeah, so main goes down to here. So we've got main going all the way down. Content, assets, figure. So we're wrapping. So if you think about kind of boink, for want of a better, this is how I really do break everything. Columns. This is really how everything's going to go horribly wrong. I mean, it may not do, but it's how. Should we see what happened?
So this is template home membership. Okay, got you.
Yeah, this is hero. This is what I'm putting in hero.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is pulled in all the templates now. So our home.html looks like this. Template home membership. Because bear in mind, we haven't edited it, if that makes sense. So this is like the default one. And I'm going to get rid of that one in a minute as well, so that we go back to membership.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I want to sort the order out that we had. So we moved the hero was there, then we moved the CTA. What was the order we changed?
Last.
The text with the CTA we put last. And then the testimonial with the CTA we put before the features grid. No, that was right. That was correct.
I think it's right now. Features. Yeah.
Well, we can test that. Let's now reset.
So you create a pattern that's the template, and that can be used when adding a new page, but it can also a pattern that's the page content just within the main, and then the template itself. I see.
I'm unpicking that sentence.
Okay. No, I'm good. I'm processing the structure of all of this. So we create these template.
It gets very nested.
Yeah. Template dash home dash X. And then people could, if people wanted to use a different one on home, no, it's not inserting, so they can't really. Let's say we added a second one, template home blog, like you said, we'd have to add the ability to insert, right?
Well, you can change the middle bit, and we've also
you can change the middle bit. Okay.
Yeah.
They would just swap which.
Yeah. So what we do, if we go back to 2024, you have the ability to change. So if we go to 2024 as our example, the default's like this. So we go to editor. So we have templates. So we have blog home. And blog home is very specific, like it's posts. It's like this. It's like everything, but we have the ability to swap out something different. So if we go in here, this bit you could swap to be something different, basically. So this section you could change to be a different. So if you look at after, so you're not going to find the browsing patterns that they've got. So they've got different posts here that you could add, which is kind of something. What we could do for your one, I think. So what they do is index. They have the posts shown on the index. I'm trying to think what would be best for you. We load up here. 24.
I'm trying to understand the value. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand why we need template home membership.
Yeah, so template home membership is if you want to have two different types of home. So to recap, on home here, they have template home business, and then you have the ability to, at code level, if you wanted to put blogging.
Okay, only at code level. Because if they swap the middle, they're still technically under the hood using template home business as the,
Yeah,
it's really,
this is inserted now. Yeah.
If a child theme loaded its own home.html, they could.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, they've also got portfolio, business, blogging. I'm not sure we need it. If you want to just say, we just have this template home, then we can just do straight template home membership.
And then if somebody was like, well, no, I'm a blogger, they would go into the site editor, they would change that middle part, and they would insert our pattern.
Brings us to a good point of what I added, which was, and these are default at the moment, post one column, post three column. So we probably need some post patterns. So what you didn't have was some post patterns. And by having those, it avoids people having to dance with query block by default, which it's a lovely block, but it's really daunting to start off with. And 2024, I like this pattern that they do. You can style it completely differently. I mean, they go even further. They have post grid 2, post images offset, post list.
Yeah, I screenshotted a few. I was browsing around the internet looking at like various, and it really like, I like when it has the author on it, but that's only useful if you're a multi-author blog. It's not that useful if you're just one guy,
Yeah, for you. So like team might be interesting. Anything that you think query the different formats. So latest posts is good, like the posts are the columns, the different grids with images, without images. It just means that people by default are just not going to have the problems of like trying to navigate it, because at the moment this has just got really like basic styling around it, but you can add like the colorings, the styling around it to exactly match your theme as much as you want. The problem here is you're scaling into an awful lot of patterns and an awful lot of things, but then you choose what you show and what you don't show. And I personally don't think, like, this is all hidden anyway, but I think this is where you're balancing usability. So the blocks that are hard to use, which query block is one of them, whether we like it or not, it's super difficult to understand still. I mean, the query loop, try and explain that to someone that doesn't code anyway. If you can provide a template that just works and say, like, you add this, and with the pattern, you've suddenly helped someone. So
and we're pretty clear on the avatar of someone using this. I don't want to say it's a framework, it's expanding, but it's also like it's for that single expert, that single creator getting paid online. Like, it's not for it doesn't have to be powder scale usable. It's really like I am a single association, I'm a single online instructor, and what patterns benefit that person, and maybe no author photo on the blogs is probably fine because it is just them.
It really is a lot easier to do this when you have these defaults. So just kind of thinking about that. Going back to this, I'm trying to remember how we get rid of our defaults. because we've kind of messed with that template, but we've got our kind of index now. Let me Cashflow. So we have now we've got the order back. I think it more or less works. I'm not sure. I think it's more or less working. That's still being grumpy, but it's navigation. Our next point was to talk about. We have notes. See, loading style sheets. This is a curious one, right? And I think this comes down to a couple of things.
Why am I tabbing everything?
Oh,
okay, there.
This comes down to a couple of things. So I noticed a couple of things that you were doing, and one, I don't think this style sheet is loading, unless I'm mistaken.
Okay. Which one is it? Payments with Pro one? Do you have Payments with Pro active?
Yeah. Oh. Paid membership pro.css, because this isn't loading in here, is it?
Maybe you didn't pull. Did you pull?
Maybe no, I didn't pull it in here because we were pulling it into the style.css.
Okay, so maybe you didn't pull from the repo.
I thought it did.
Okay. Functions.php should have line 191.
I have paid memberships pro.php.
And then that enqueues conditionally based on if the plugin.
Oh, okay, that's what you're doing. So you're conditionally loading there. Okay.
Yeah.
I would possibly look at doing that in the functions.php.
Okay. Unless we expect other filters. I mean.
Unless, yeah.
Okay.
There's no right answer. We're in the no right answer territory.
No, Tammie, no. You're my right answer person.
Well,
I know. It's kind of like this is what do we establish for theme authors, like, or plugin authors, like, if you're doing this, do it this way, or no?
Yeah. We're in the there's no right answer territory is the problem. Yeah. So the problem is readability. So when there is no right answer, I would go for readability. And we go to the same thing that I found is like, how do you determine where it is? So if we are going to have it there, have a note that we're doing it there, right? Have a note of what it does and where it does it. So if it is doing what it's doing in functions.php, say what it's doing. So it just says compatibility, say compatibility of styles. So that's what I would say. So compatibility, loading of styles, blah, 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 all those kind of things. However, if it's compatibility based on blocks, which I'm not sure, that's like another conversation we need to have. So this is where this bit of text comes. So you have the ability to load CSS for everything, front and back. So front editor and back editor. Yeah, you can do that. Just load it. Or you can conditionally load based on a block. So that might be what you want to do more specifically. So if you load this particular block, then load this style. That might.
We know that works with not core blocks. That works.
Haven't tried it, but that might be okay. but considering that they load their own, I mean, custom blocks load custom styling. So yes,
they do.
That probably would be what I would recommend. And we're in good stead for that. If you look at, and let me know what to do. You decide
would you see that have like duplication potentially? Like our front end login block has form fields, but so does our checkout block and our account, like our front end profile edit block. Would there just be like 3 places now to change an input style? And is that hairy?
So you could do a global input. And then if it's different for each of those, do it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But the reason being is then you can control specific. Here, again, no right answer. But I'm just going to show you on Ollie why this is done. If you look at when you want to get, and Ollie does have duplication if you look at it, but it's really easy to just be like specifically loading and specifically doing, like, from a clean perspective, and from a performance of, I'm just using a table, load things to the table. I'm just using a column to load the things to the columns. It actually makes a lot more sense than I want to load everything all the time just because I might use it. From a code, from an end perspective, it's more it can be seen as more performant because you're loading it based, like, I use a list, I do it. From a code cleanliness and a code maintenance point of view and everything, it feels like you're just rewriting 100 times the word preset tertiary, right? Or 100 times rewriting the word list, which is where you probably have some list, right? List. But then this is really easy to then target things. So
yeah. And it's probably more specific. Like, the problem with styling in the theme for the plugin is that the plugin CSS is later often.
Yeah.
So it's overriding and it's using its own specificity. But if you're doing the styles for the blocks like this, it's prefixing it all probably. So it's as specific as it can be.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the way that you can also definitely target that block as well, because you're loading it at the block time.
You don't have to prefix it with the block wrappers. It does it when it renders, like when it.
So this is still WP block.
Okay, so you do have to prefix it.
Yeah, it's still the block class. Yeah, so WP block gallery.
That'd be nice if it just like rolled up. It was like, oh, I know what block I am.
Yeah, I know. But the problem with that is this is going to be 100 calendar blocks, 100 list blocks, 100. It still needs to be specific about what it is. I probably, even though it's a little bit annoying, would recommend this, because say I'm making a block fresh, I'm going to be very specific, and I'm doing it in its own little environment. I'm going to make its styling be as, it's always going to have a placeholder and its own styling, and I'm going to do that, like its default styles, to load only when that block loads.
Okay.
That's how I would do it. So therefore, in my theme, if I called anything specific, I would do it this way because it mirrors how I'm doing it in the plugin. The old way of doing blocks in a plugin used to be just load it everywhere.
Blocks.css.
Yeah, which is not, like, because we have this function now, and this is, and that's why we have this, which is different, which is you can do core button and then load it specifically for it. So include block style and then load specific for it. So you do have that ability to really narrow in
that
down.
section. That's why Ollie loads it in a includes file, because it can get extremely long.
Yes.
Like, I would even say, like, you need an includes file for the core blocks and then the ones for the Paid Merchants Pro blocks. And
I have seen that.
You've seen that.
Seen that. Yeah, I have seen where people have divided separate ones, and that's when people get into companion plugin territory, where they have a companion plugin that loads specific styling for their suite. If you get into like big, kind of stuff, I don't know on a scaling perspective where Woo or anything would go, but that would be kind of like where you'd be thinking about how do you detach. One advantage could even, you could just spin up a plugin that it doesn't even touch themes, it just provides block styling, right? Which could be fun. But yeah, it's
a function block or plugins can use also. It's not relegated to the theme, the ability to do these.
But if you look at 2024, this is an example of where I think it doesn't necessarily. Don't complain about 2024. Like everything's complaining about things within the work. Goodness me.
Do they load block style sheets? No. Oh, button outline. Okay, they do.
No, but what I'm showing here is the limit of where I think we've got a problem even with block styles. Like, I don't think this scales like block styles, right? And I think this is the problem with a lot of these things. When you have this many block styles, my recommendation would be put it into separate files anyway. And I think, but then we get the problem, which we just had a discussion of, readability. Because we're putting everybody into the functions.php file. So good example is default themes, right? Like, we are training people that well, we actually trained in 2023 that there was no functions.php. Now we're training that there's a functions.php again.
Yes.
So that's exciting. Just from the end user perspective, that's super exciting, right? It doesn't exist now. It doesn't exist. And now it's got all this stuff that you've never seen before in that has maybe 3 words, or that has this that you don't even know.
Yes.
I'm being quite flippant, but these are the things that I would encourage you to be, because the whole point is your market is also a bit of education with what you're providing, right? So just try and give as much information as possible. I would encourage you to do things like this, like link to things, provide some education in it. Just, we are in that ground where there are specific right answers, like probably like this. Well, this is definitely how you do styles, right? This is how you do templates. This is how you do template parts, right? We've done that. This, one thing you could probably do is where you've got, if any in here are more global styles, you could probably put them in style.css. So think about, are any of these like default globals? Are they just ones that you just have out, no matter if the plugin exists or not? They might be, they might not be. So just have, it's horrible,
So
I don't like.
on the topic of like enqueuing, then do we need to enqueue as a block editor that style.css, because that's not loading in the admin, that's not loading in the editor, so it's not available to the editing
way we're
experience.
loading it here at the moment is all right, because we don't need it at the moment in the block editor. If we do need it, we would need to load it as well.
Do we need it because that creates that, like, I mean, the goal of a block theme is that the editing experience matches the presentation layer, right?
We don't need to load it at the moment. Like, it's, so the default will load, so you don't need to load it at the moment.
The style.css, we do not need to enqueue in the editor, you think? Okay.
So style.css, I'm showing an example to kind of clarify, still can be loaded. Oh, for goodness, box size just gets in the way. This is specific ones. So this is what we were talking about with the specific ones, where we're including specific. Goodness me, block styles just getting in the way. We were just doing normal. We're not even loading styles. Awesome. Thank you for not helping me with an example there. I'm getting you an example that actually uses styles. 1 second. Thank you. Okay, so we have, you're just not going to call. Oh, thank you. This is just normal. So if we're going to do it, it just does it like this.
But it's only on the front end, and that's okay.
So include editor style and fonts. Yeah.
Okay. Which theme is that?
This is Ollie.
Ollie.
So we could also do this, which they do. If you ever wanted, by the way, this is quite handy.
Which one?
Remove theme support core block patterns. So this is a bit of a hammer. If you ever decide that you didn't want to support core block patterns as well, you could do that. So this is if what they're doing is enqueuing. So they're adding editor styles to editor here. So we've got. I'm trying to see where we added it. Oh, that's one part.
I thought add editor style is being is that the one that's being deprecated in favor of?
Yeah.
Or is that the one that's being preferred in terms of enqueue?
So we've got the specific ones, and then we've also got, so this is specific, and then we've got, let me pull up, add editor styles, because we have some good documentation of it's deferred. So we have, let's call back editors, parameters, your references, add theme support, add theme support. I'm checking because there's so little load styles. I want to get the right information for you.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have this one in Q block style. So this is per block.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one that's being done, unless I'm mistaken, which quite often happens, is the load in editor.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
The add editor style.
This doesn't say deprecated there, which is what I'm curious about, because it should say deprecated here. Let's see if it says deprecated on GitHub. Oh, thanks for not saying you are now deprecated. Would it not be nice to just have a little, bless its cotton socks, to have a little, I'm now going to be deprecated. I mean, it's about 8 years old in the codex, so. Okay, thank you for the extra information. I'm going down to latest information, which is 8 years ago. Thank you. To add styles for the plugin. Okay. Use a URL. Thank you. Using, I think it's this one. I think it's this one that's changing. Right. Let's be blunt. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one way to do it. Please registered. No, that's not going to help me. That's filters.
I know in another theme, that's a classic theme I'm using in QBlock assets.
Yes, I think that's the more problem.
That's not a good one.
Yeah, because include block assets is include block style is replacing, because you then have include block script replacing, because in 2024, that's where I learned to do it correctly. And I was taught, because I was not doing it correctly. And I deeply value that lesson. In 2024, this, so you have this, which is what we've got. So
yeah, that's what we've got.
Yeah, but that's for, it can be for a specific block as well. But let me see whether that has for the whole style sheet as well. Thank you. That's really not what I wanted, but you know, I mean, those separate style sheets. Okay, well. Okay, to do that, WP include block style function. Yes, so it is in block style function.
WP in Q block style.
Is the new one.
And that loads both in the editor and on the front end.
It sets 2 arguments, both of which require block name and paragraph. Okay, I'm going to read. No necessary styles will be rendered on the page unless the block is rendered. I was opted in to load in the case of classic themes separately. The arguments are used the same as WP and Q style function. In addition, you can also add a path argument to inline small assets where possible. So you can do CSS, and you can also do, enhances the way style sheets are added. Block render. Let's try load. I'm just kind of getting the information so I Reading whilst speaking whilst reading is always really an observer sport. So this is the correct way, because that was the way I was corrected to do it. Okay. Then we have this. This is how you do separate. Okay, yes. Thank you for telling me the difference. Okay. It's curious, this is multiple style sheets, but everyone's pretty much just doing, because you're loading a core one and then a custom one, so it is multiple. Okay, that makes sense. I was just trying to work out why it was multiple. I was like, answered my own question why it's multiple, because in my brain it's multiple in a thing, but it's not multiple, it's just multiple. Okay, so I'm going to look at this one specifically.
I'm just looking at other themes that we've been using as inspiration at Ollie and at Powder.
I think they're doing the same way we're doing it.
They're also, well, they're enqueuing their style sheet, which we need to do.
Yeah.
Powder doesn't seem to do an enqueue block.
They're not doing specific blocks.
They're not doing specific block styles.
Ollie's do block styles.
Ollie's doing
everything.
They're doing their style sheet in the editor, and they're enqueuing. They wrote their own wrapper to like validate that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's needed, because you're saying it only loads it if it's found.
I mean, it may be needed. I don't know.
Maybe needed. Yeah, they're saying like if the block is used, load the custom styles. But the way you read that, it sounded like it's magically doing that for you. That might not be.
So I haven't found a problem with doing it this way.
Okay. You don't have to actually check that the block is present.
So it's if it's used. So it's if you use the core button block.
Yeah.
Then it loads it in to specifically what would happen. So 2024 doesn't load any styles because it doesn't load any styles. So 2022, oh, that's going too far back. I was going to look at 2022.
We need 2025.
We do 2025 with styles, but 2025 might not have styles, and that's the problem with this one, because this doesn't have styles. So we can
maybe core ones never will do.
I mean, this is it's the argument of where we're having it here and then we're loading it in it. I would say that the way that we load the styles hasn't changed, but for you, I'm also not sure with what you're doing, what we currently have, and this is whether we even need this, because a lot of this we could probably do in Team Jason. So I don't know if that grows or not. We may be having a mind. It's a good mind bend, but we're also having a mind bend around something that you may not even.
We can just do differently.
Like, we would just load normally, like you normally load style, but I'm not sure we even need this, because we can do defaults for like form fields in Team Jason, and then you've got your custom ones here anyway. Like here. So that would be a discussion. Let's add it normally in how we would normally. So let's load it up. Powdered is the most normal way of doing it, I think, doesn't it? Like this.
In Team Jason.
Yeah. I think that's the most normal way of doing it.
Learning style sheet, yeah.
Yeah. This one's getting super exciting. What's it doing as well? Clean theme styles and scripts and powder and template JavaScripts, and so that loads it in the editor.
That's loads it in the editor.
And that loads your styles fully outside. So we need both.
Add editor style after setup theme.
Well, you need both, right?
Yep. We would need the.
Okay. I'm going to take the boring approach of copy both over and edit it. This is what you do when you do themes.
That is how you do it, guys. Don't be ashamed of copy paste. Just make sure you edit it all completely and you're good.
You do. But that's the whole point, right? With copy
Why
and
not?
pasting with themes. Yeah. So and interesting enough, with Crate Block theme, you don't get a setup anymore.
Yeah.
Cashflow, which might actually be a good thing, because having initialized theme defaults is probably a good thing to have in Crate Block. She says, thinking out loud. So what we don't need is, we need that. We don't need that. I don't think. We do not need theme settings, and we do not. That's curious. Both of them are removing core blocks settings. So. And then let's just do. You haven't got. Do you want? You haven't got any.
There's not going to be JavaScript, I don't think. I hope not. What is the? I'm going to look at the powder JavaScript. What even is that? Some kind of funky thing. Ink? No, where even? Oh, assets. Excuse me, I'm yawning. Header. Oh, it's like a scroll top.
Yeah.
On the header.
And what's curious is, I'm so used to having this in underscores. So I think a good recommendation for Crate Block would be to have a checkbox. I say, thinking out loud. You can be like, I do want a functions.php. She says, thinking that would be a really good request to put into the issue.
And like loosely framework all the sections of this, especially like the block CSS per block, I think, for people to see that.
It feels like there's a lot that we've added that we've like beautifully cherry picked from some awesome things, which love that. But if Crate Block had that, then it's going to be better as well. So sharing information, sharing it out wide. So Crate Block has a tick. I need to actually do like that boring thing of include a style. Tick, I need to do that boring thing of have block styles. See how many block styles you have here. I would possibly suggest you have an external
file. Okay.
Yeah.
Load in.
Well, it's that readability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument that I've seen which takes it even further, which each one of these would be a separate CSS.
Yeah.
So I've actually seen where you've got in here, you've got CSS, then you've got block styles. And then each one of those, so you'd have cover blob, cover stash, and then cover stash.css, or you have blocks and then cover blob.css, cover stash.css. And I think I gave you that link where there was like a parsing of the files, the folder, and you just pick it. It can go like really finite.
Yeah, it trickles them all up.
Yeah, so I think it depends on where you want to go. I'm just going to search and see whether I did it. Yep. So now we're loading that one. But really, I think the Crate Block having, yes, I want a setup. Yes, I want scripts. Like, because I need to include that. Yes, I want a functions.php. Unless I'm mistaken, Crate Block doesn't by default have a functions.php anymore. I have a feeling it doesn't even have a functions.php now. So yeah, having the ability to have a skeleton functions.php would be nice. I need to test that. So this is interesting. Where you have site logo here, you have the ability to use a site logo, but be the site logo block could be the site icon, site, the block could be the site logo. Yeah.
Okay.
So words apparently failed me there. That was super exciting. So this block.
Yes.
This. So how do we do? Yeah, let's go with that. I know it's going to look ridiculous.
That's lovely. I like it.
This.
Okay, display a site icon. Yeah.
So that might be something that you choose to do rather than having that there. It's just something that I think so, rather than like having a function to do it.
The function's to filter in the default.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you could always have a suggestion that they use the block if you're going block based.
I don't follow. Have a suggestion that they use the
Not have this function here.
not have the function. Where would I put it? Where would I filter in my default?
So what you could do is have, I haven't tried it, but I think you can provide like a default for the block.
When you show it, okay. When you in theme JSON or when you render it in the template file?
You should be able to.
Like a fallback in the pattern or the template part. Sorry, this is the template part.
Let's see. So site logo. Let's just see if we can do it with the site. So we can find the site. Thanks. Okay, that's really helpful. Logo block. Okay, block reference. Thank you. If this doesn't have it, it doesn't. Oh, okay. Right. That would be a good addition for this block. Then, as you were, because I thought there was a different one for it, but it would be really good to be able to have. Let me just go down site logo. Okay. Display supports align color, background text. Apparently not anymore. I'm assuming that's what the crossed out. Interactivity, spacing, align white, should sync, that's a bit, and width, there's no default. You could extend it to do a default, but that's a whole different.
Oh, there's example. Does it have example?
Where did you see example?
Oh, I don't think it's part of that block though.
Was that here or here?
No, I'm on the block editor, block registration.
Okay. I think because you can extend it. And I'm wondering if extending it, can. Anyway, we've gone down a giant rabbit hole.
Okay. No worries.
But being able to offer a default image would be really good for that one, I think. But you can't do experiment to do it. Okay, fine. No, you can't do it. But being able to offer a default image would be nice. Yeah. Can't do it, but you could. Okay. Next thing. Are you doing the support includes correctly? I mean, you're doing it as correctly as you can, but you need to add some text around it. And queuing in the editor, again, same answer. Dark and background themes. Okay, so I was playing around with this at the end of last week, and I've come to, again, I'm not sure there's a good answer, sorry. But I think the best answer I've come up with is leaning into theme JSONs for this. So having a light theme JSON and a dark theme JSON. The complication comes when you're trying to combine them. So a good example is I was working on a theme where I was trying to combine light and dark. You cannot do that without ending up having quite a messy file where you have it all combined in it. So but what you can do is you can have a light and dark theme JSON and not have in the patterns so much like local inline. Okay. That helps. It gets really messy if you start doing what we were doing earlier, which is where like you're just like editing the template and you're just adding stuff, because then you end up with all that like inline CSS and then you have to clear it and all that stuff, as we saw. But my recommendation would be to have a light and a dark JSON file, because that's just the clearest thing for people, rather than having like light and dark components, because then someone can choose the starting point to be light or dark. And then they can make the decision. But in the palettes, have all of the tones. So how can I kind of describe it? So you're always going to have the dark tones and the light tones in your palette, even if it's
Okay.
a dark
So
or a light.
theme.json will have the color schemes for both light and dark.
Ish.
Color palette. Okay.
And no, because the dark one would be predominantly would be dark,
Yeah.
but you'd still have some light bits. So if you wanted like a light section in that, you could add one. But you would be predominantly dark. It's those awkward middles where someone's like, I want to be dark, but I want a white strip, right? That's the awkward. But if someone is gonna, or if they want a dark front page and then they want a light inner page in a template, but then they're getting into custom because your theme JSON file will probably have your contrast will be flipped around with your accents probably, and your bases will probably be flipped around anyway, so that's not going to be such a problem. So they'll be able to pick them. This is what I was doing anyway, but you'll have the starting points. So you have a light or a dark starting point that someone can go. It's just making sure that you keep as much styling away from the patterns and the templates if you are doing that. Now, you do scripting and could you detect and could you have US, but it doesn't, to me, and this is a purely opinionated decision, ring true to having the different styles. I feel this aligns a lot more with like what 2024 did to start off with, where they've got, or they've tried to do with, where they have dark mode here, and then they have a very distinct dark mode, and then the default is light, and then they have colors. So to me, this makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it gets a bit murky when you try. And I literally at the weekend was trying to do something that had a dark front page and then a light inner page. And that's when it gets a bit muddy.
Difficult. Okay. So possibly the dark could have the header, like the example right now is if you go to the demo.cashflowtheme.com site, the header template part is like the buttons are not accessible color contrast. So if I took the color of those buttons out of the template part and just made them white, we're fine, right?
Yeah. So if you take the color out of that and then have it be dependent on the color in the theme JSON, so when the theme JSON swaps, they just change.
How can theme JSON target the buttons in the header template part?
If it uses the variable of it. And you could call the button specifically in the theme JSON file.
Okay, so I could say.
So you can do, so a good example here we have, we've got some button specific, exact, cannot do words today. We have some specificity. Oh, apparently I can do the word, but we don't have buttons, I don't think. So we have here, we have the radius, right? But what you could do, where they get really exact.
So it would be the default color that a newly inserted button takes on, and then our template part uses the default color. Okay. It's not specific
and I'm
to
going
just
to
the header
this,
part.
and this is going to help you a little bit answer some of your hover questions as well.
Okay.
So if you look at what you've got here, they are, because it's core buttons, they are targeting the outline style variation of core buttons. So you could do the color, and you could do the whatever variable you have in the theme JSON. That's how you kind of get really exact in there.
So I'll take the color out of the header itself. Okay.
Yeah. So that gets really in here. And I think in here we've got an example of hover. Yeah, so here, if we go down, you were saying about hover, this is the example for hover.
So that'll always apply regardless of the color. When the color gets overwritten in block editor, when you're editing, you insert a button, you change the color, background color of the button. It's what hover, then it will use the default hover? then, or will it
So,
not hover at all?
so it will use this until you change it
Okay.
in your
Can you
local
set
install.
it? Can you set the
There's
background?
you can change certain elements.
I don't know if you can do
Hover isn't
background.
exposed yet. Hover is coming.
Okay, good.
Let me check what is available fully. We'd like to check this. And
That'll be nice. Because I always
no,
notice
I'm
that
not
when you
under.
insert the default button, it has a nice hover effect in a
Yeah,
lot of themes. But then once you,
but a good check is always under here. So you check style variations, and then check every single option. So this is button. And then check different states as well. So that's how I check it. So link, you can do hover currently, but button, you can't do hover.
Yeah.
So that's why you do it here. But the problem is this is if you change the background to be, you can see how you get the problems.
Respect the hover. Okay. That's why like
Yeah.
Ollie, it seems like has like hover in their style.css for things. And I'm like, I get why they did that because they wanted everything
they
to
want
have
that control.
Interactivity. Yeah.
Yeah, and they want that control. And you can do link. So link has, so if you go to typography and you go to links, links has hover state. Link did have hover state. Where was hover state? I saw link had hover state. Buttons. No, thank you. So this. And okay, thank you. Thank you. Can we go into here? Okay, you're just not helping me out here. Yeah, see? Yeah. So link has here.
Okay.
Default and hover. Button has here.
Just text and background.
But button doesn't have it.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
But when hover comes in for button, you'll be able to have it. Let me just test the theory though. Yeah, okay, thank you. No.
Oh, well.
But I do know there's a ticket for it. But you still have the ability to do it here. So it's also, it's coming. Full control over hover is definitely needed. But doing this does allow you, I've also seen people do background and then do some calc based on the background so that it always calculates based on whatever the background color is, which is probably like your most safe method of doing this.
Okay.
Ish. Safe.
Depends.
I would probably say do this. So remember,
just
elements
pick another
is more
color.
like custom styling. So if you think of it this way, that styles is like default, so you can have style variations and then default styles, and then elements is more like your custom things. That's the best way I can describe. There's way better words than those. But you can have like button, you can do the radius, you can do color, you can do typography, and you can really dig into this. Let's just put in a hover, just so you've got it as an example. So what we already have. So we have styles. Do we have elements? Do we have an elements section?
I think we do.
We have button, border, radius, typography. Okay, let's bring a hover in. Hover, contrast. Is contrast going to be good enough for us? Well, it's going to be what we'll have today. Are you complaining or are you not complaining? That will do. So we've got that. Bear in mind again, you might not need this. So if you had, this was your light mode, and then your dark mode doesn't need anything to change, you don't need to redeclare this in your dark mode.
Okay.
So they both load together.
And you only have to override. It's overriding it.
only the differences you need to load.
Okay.
So a good example is this is all the blue loads for in 2024. I like using this example because there's nothing, hardly anything loads to this one, right? Yeah. But I think different ones of these load more. I think some of these load more. No, they're all pretty similar. Yeah, so that's all they load. They're just changing the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And probably that's all you need. For you probably want colors.
Well, do you have hedge? I put one style in.
Yeah, good. So you got hedge.
It has duotones and gradients and.
You probably don't need this though.
Let me see.
This is very specific.
The link color.
Yeah.
What are we doing in theme JSON for link?
And do you change the geotags?
Yep, they're different.
Okay. And the gradients are different. So
I couldn't use variables in duotones, so I had to. The duotones only accept named hex values, right? Okay.
As far as I know, I haven't had
my test didn't work with the presets.
No,
so.
I don't think I have either had success with that. You don't want default patterns, or do you? Like from the pattern directory, because we can get rid of that if you don't want that.
I don't think we do. Do we have to unregister them also in functions, or we do?
No, it's more that you just don't want to load.
Okay.
That's more that they didn't want to just show them.
Okay.
I do not believe you need to unregister them.
Okay.
That is not my understanding. I would love to be corrected if I'm wrong.
The way that they're doing it in like Powder is declaring them in functions.php.
I think that's core, as in not loading them in the actual system.
Okay.
As well.
Core block
unless
pattern.
I'm mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's different than the theme.json patterns.
Ish, but it also loads the theme directory.
Okay.
Let's find out what that one exactly
Pattern
does.
directory. Yeah.
I haven't turned that one off, so I would love to know what we're doing here. Remove support core block patterns. Let's find what they're exactly doing and why. Because I have not used that. So, look, this site's always a good one. You need to add this code to move all default patterns. So it's whether you want to move all of them.
Then what is the theme.json?
So theme.json is if you want to add any from the theme directory. So if you want to pull in any.
If I'm hand picking, that's why I like to. Okay.
Yeah. So in here we have an example. Yeah. And that was if there was any that are useful to you. If there are none that are useful to you, you don't have to. I'm a little bit about turning off core support of block patterns.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like
it's gonna not great. Yeah, it's probably just gonna make really ugly layouts and frustration. They're gonna be like, "Why isn't it my colors?" You know, it's gonna be like,
yeah. I kind of get it, because also if you look at some of them, they can be wild and woolly.
They are.
Yes,
but I think by design to show how flexible it is, right? They're pushing typography to the limits.
But if you're going YOLO, I think that's okay. So
all right, we'll probably do that. We'll probably deregister them or D&Q, whatever. We'll use the.
You want to add this?
I think I want to add the I want to add that, and we'll take patterns out of theme.json. We don't need that, you know.
Yeah, so I can 100% add that.
Empty
that
array.
One is so we can put that one in here. And that one, as far as I know, can just go.
Okay. Perfect.
I do not think there's any problem with putting it there. I have not used it, so if that causes anything to die or explode, I do apologize. I just realised that I think I have a problem with my theme, Jason. Oh no, what's angry? Hover is not allowed. Okay, why is hover not allowed? Hover was allowed before. Bear with me. It has been grumpy about hover. Why are you grumpy about hover? Okay, am I not in link? Oh, excuse me a second. I've forgotten how to theme Jason. No, it'll be fine. Okay. Okay, thank you. Do you want to? Button. Okay, button. So why are you being grumpy? Button, focus. So you'll do active, focus, elements. Button, active. So it's the top level, so you should be absolutely fine about doing it there. Okay, but you're not fine about doing it there. So, that's curious. I'm just going to copy that whole thing and see whether it is happier doing that. Okay, well now you are happy. Okay, I don't need half of that, but thank you for being obnoxious. I'm going to take this out just in case you wanted to have those stars as well.
Okay.
And you just wanted to have the background contrast, right? Don't need a border because we haven't got one. Leave it there. Okay, now you're happy. Oh, I don't know. I love it when me and Jason just get grumpy for no reason.
Finicky.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It shouldn't have got weird about. Like, that's exactly the same thing, but it wanted it at the top rather than at the bottom. And I'm trying to work out why it didn't like me putting it here, but it wanted me to put it here. And maybe it was having alphabet problems, but it shouldn't be. Okay, anyway, yeah. That now works. Awesome. I prefer it to be there anyway. What's next on our awesome shopping list today?
Oh, I know. What is? Let's see. I was looking at schema in Powder, and they seem to wrap the single in article, which I think is smart schema-wise. But then...
yeah, it's your choice.
It's your choice. Okay.
Because
I think some validators are going to say like, oh, you don't have the article tag if you get like really like SEO audit level, technical SEO audit level.
So there is something you can do there, which is this, which we often forget about, where we have the ability to go in and do things like this. Yeah. So you can get like where you get into your template, into your general. So specifically a person can do it. I think we often forget that we can do, but we can label things in the
what's good about that, I guess, is if they're like got like a single.html is, you know, this blank space. And if you put a sidebar in, but if I wrap it in single.html an article, I'm telling the entire section to be article, which isn't really what you want. You want it to just be, you know, from your post title down to like your, you know, the end of it and not include that sidebar element.
Which is why I think that if you look at like 2024, they don't do, what do they do?
They don't seem to do article.
No, they don't.
It's down to like
they do main. They do main.
They do main.
Yeah.
But like in single, I don't have an article.
In single, now they've got main. But then they're doing main for everything, and then you've got this, which you can then do specific. This is often completely ignored by so many people.
Yeah.
Advanced section.
And I could, you know, I could still include it if I did a single layout and had a group from my, if 2024 grouped from like line 5 down to I don't know, line 45, they could wrap that, and then the editor would let you switch it, huh?
Can you go back through that?
2024 could have grouped, another after main, they could do another group of the entire, contents of that and give that the article tag if they wanted to, or the person could do it themselves.
All of this could be another template that is grouped.
That's great.
Well, if it's a group, so
then you would be
have
the flexibility
yes, because if you go into single,
you can change the structure. Yeah, you could just do it in
the
editor.
2020. So we've got single posts, which is what this is. So we go into single posts, and we go into general, which is what that section is. General, which is this section.
Yes.
This section. So why general is going into post meta. That's super exciting. Because it's general, it's template part. So it's listing all the template parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then it's saying what is the template part. So it's saying it's a div. Yeah. So I guess if you wanted to be specific, you could then do default based on area div. You could then give it a label. Yeah. If you want to be very specific about HTML structuring, then I think making these template parts may be slightly better for you in there based on this, because that's what that one is, post meta.
I don't know that full list. Are they documented anywhere? I can.
Which one?
Oh, the list
is
header, main, section, article, aside, footer, div. Okay.
Yeah, so this is advanced. How do we call this? Advanced template areas, I guess.
Template areas.
Yeah.
New word. All right.
Well, it's template. Well, the problem with this is it calls it custom templates. Then it's also template areas. It calls it. Then it also calls it in its template parts. And it works on the template parts here. You can do the same thing too. So you can define it as header. And then it's basically anything on this page that's a template part. You can then determine what its HTML element is, and also you can give it a class. And also you can give it so it's an area, but it's also a part. Yeah, you can rename it,
but only at the part level, not because I know you can change like a div to a span.
Yeah,
but, that's not what we're talking about here. It only exposes those.
But I can give it a section here, and then if I look in the code, I do believe.
Did it change main?
No, I didn't change it to section. That's curious. I would say that
still want a main.
You still need the main wrapped around it, and I'm just wondering where that changed it to section. If that didn't change it to section, because I just changed section there. Or whether I have to save. Let's see. Save, and then it'll come out. Exit. So that's group. It changed. Okay. Okay, well, I've changed it to section. You're going to show me now. Code editor. Yeah, see? Tag name section.
Okay. Oh, I bonked the thing. Sorry. It was loud. Okay. I have to think about that, what I want to introduce.
Yeah. So I think main might be a good one.
I want to see.
The main class, wrapping it all in main class. That is what 2024 is doing by default.
Ollie doesn't
It's hard because
Ollie doesn't care about article.
Does Ollie do anything?
They use main in, they seem to just use main. We need Yoast to come on. He'll say, no, use the article.
But I think this is where we get, it's almost like, and we're kind of getting into interesting discussions. When we had a discussion earlier about where Create Block can help us a bit more in good practices with those edges. But if you were to only create in the editor, you wouldn't even have main, right? And I've done this
Right.
if
everything was blank.
That's not good. So we then need, how do we add those good defaults in? Where do you add them? Because if you had in the old days where you had underscores, you would have like main, and then you'd have your aside, and you'd have your templates for that. And if you don't have that now, how do you know where things go and where? Yes,
like a skip to content link that we put for screen reader, like that anchors on something, right? And we don't know where to anchor it.
Where's footer for footer?
Yes,
because footer for footer doesn't exist anymore. Even in here, footer for footer doesn't exist. And even when, so when we like, so
yeah, there's like that, like, use WordPress because it has excellent built-in SEO, and you're like, okay, it does, but also like the structure. If we lose the structure in theming, we lose a piece of that.
So we do gain, because we're using template parts, it does this. So it does this footer class. So we still have footer because it definitely is a template part. So it has identified it's a footer and a header. So we're being a bit flippant when we say it doesn't do it anymore, because it does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Because you have your main section, it is doing, I mean, we've got the main, which we identified in templates. So if we look at like the index, the index.php, we've got our main there. We've got our header because it's a header template part. So we've identified it's a header. So it says you're a header, so you get header. You're a footer, so you get footer. So we've got some of the semantics there, go team. And then we've got main. So I think by using the correct template part for the correct thing, we start having that and we keep with that. But we don't have the, asides and different things. So I think the main one, and we had stopped using a lot of asides. So the main is probably what the middle ground, and then footer. It's curious, like whether main should be output by default in some of the templates that are being created in the editor. That could be an argument that could be
right. Don't rely on the templates to include it always.
Well, by default, if you did new
even with article, you'd want main and then article. I mean, that's what Powder was doing. I saw like a commit he did with all like semantic HTML focus.
Yeah. There's a whole, I mean, it's how deep are we going?
I know. I don't know. You need like a selling point why your theme is the betterest.
I mean, I think that then gets into, is your theme a framework, or is your theme a theme which would then have a plugin that would have the SEO? And there probably is a really good argument for SEO plugins to optimize block themes. Because block themes are then almost independent of market. Oh, there's a whole conversation to go.
Yeah, there is. It's true.
Yeah. Like,
it's interesting to think through. Yeah. I'll put the link to, I'm going to put the link in the comments just to the single template from Powder.
It's so good, but we have to, you're very right, we have to remember these practices because it kind of became verbatim to know what structure we have for sidebar. So the good thing is template parts are helping us with the header and footer, but having the main there and then keeping the structure, particularly like we go back to 2016 and even like some of the older themes, and I remember the aside and then having to do like the structure of like even widgets, right?
Widgets. They like the default widget wrapper was the aside. It was not always the aside, and then it became, and now we don't have those anymore, so we just insert.
And also you always have to have post content had a header, and then I mean we must be making like SEO people cry, but yes. But that it's lessons, right? It's lessons in learning, and then the theme shouldn't get in the way of the SEO.
Yes.
No. I just think it's not that it's not possible. It's a lot of this is kind of the theme of today. Is Where there's no right answer, it's finding practices that apply throughout and learning from who is doing it. Or maybe you're not going to borrow everything, but if you just go and use the editor as Dreamweaver, you will never have name. You will never have that SEO. So that's also not good. Nav should have nav, right? Like all these kind of things. Search should have search, all these kind of things. So yeah, if you think of the editor as a sketchbook, that's the best way that I can describe it at the moment to get your idea out. And then what we're doing here is we did that and now we're refining it. That's the best way. So what's next on our shopping list?
All right, we talked about schema.
Yeah.
We talked about blog layout. So really icons are kind of like a thing people may expect.
Yeah.
It's curious how different I'm looking at the different framework style themes we've looked at, and really Ollie is the only one, and they bundled dash icons.
Yeah.
I don't know how I want to handle this. I'm using some Unicode in template parts right now, which is debatably awful or good. I mean, we forget Unicode is like available to us and kind of cool.
Yeah. I would say if you can, if you really want something in, SVGs are not too bad. Icon font is not too bad. It's relatively easy to create an icon font now.
The Google Material Design has a font.
Yeah. Yes.
That's an icon font.
There's also an emoji icon font for Noto now.
Okay.
I think there is. Is there one for Noto? Let's see it. Noto emoji. Did I see one? Yes, here you go. Noto emoji.
Oh, neat. Oh, they're cute. Look at them. I don't know how business focused this is.
I found this the other day. I was like, Noto emoji is open source. So use it in every project. I don't care. Trumpet and balloon.
Chili peppers.
I was just like, I'm sold. Don't get what project I have to cake. I'm a child.
So the material icons is like a little more
mushroom.
Sure.
House. I mean, it's a house. What more do you
but
need?
I find them, every icon block I've used is so confusing because you're like, it's this like, there's 10,000 icons and you have to like search by name and then you insert it and then you have to use the.
But there's a goat and a turtle. I'm sorry.
It is a cute font.
So I think if you can use Google, use this one. If you can use a font, particularly with what's happening. But if not, SVGs work still just as well. But just sparingly, because know that it's still got the same problem that fonts and icons have got. That hasn't really changed yet. Yeah. There's going to be no.
What's your pulse on icons coming core to block editor, and in what format, or no, or I don't know.
So the media library is having a lot of work done on it, which is good. If we go to my source of truth, which is always the repo.
GitHub.
Yeah. If we look at icons, which is always the way to have a good pulse on what's happening with icons, we can predict. We have add screen for favicon, updating icons, adding UX, moving CSS, proposal for core blocks. So what we have is this. So the small core blocks. That makes me think we're probably going to have better small block support. So there may be different icon support. There may be different little thing support. There's been some examples here. So audio, phone icon, sort of like the social icons, different things. So I think those blocks might hold more interesting. There's a math ML. If you're getting your nerd on, the marquee one, the vision history. But there's probably going to be like more blocks that way, so more visual blocks that way. I would say there'll probably be more like filter and difference. The thing that interests me is better the media library having the work it's having, so that then images are better, so that therefore the infrastructure is better, so that then any block that requires images can be easier to use. And the problem with any block at the moment that requires any image uploading, it's beholden to the media library, whether you because it's not detached from it. So yeah, but they've got like tabs is coming. Like a tabs, the best block I think, tabs and accordion. If like there's a core adjacent supporting of that, like heck yes. So I think things like that will come. For now, my recommendation would be if it's really core to your project, think of a custom block. So if there's like, I don't know, if there's a particular membership, you know, if Etsy is, I think Etsy support, but like if Bob's Network is something you need to support and Bob's Network is not supported as a logo, you may need to provide that and extend the existing social icons or something like that. Similar to if there's just like a block that is absolutely needed for your client base at the moment, create a custom block for that. If any of these blocks look like there'd be something that you are gonna like could contribute back, that could be something to do as well, like side a container or tabs or accordion. Those are kind of super useful. So yeah, it's there's no short answer.
They'll come eventually. Okay, no, that's okay. I guess I can also go the route of like pick my favorite like open source block multi plugin and say like use that with this.
This is another good one for you as a business owner for what plugins can you integrate that you partner with. And I think this is something that is a really good conversation to have is, okay, I can't do everything. I can't support every block. So this is one for you right here, by the way.
There, yeah.
And this is in the list of little blocks that could happen. So it's not that it won't happen. It's that since 2019 it hasn't happened. Oh look, 2019, I thought it was a good idea.
Wow, that's surprisingly 5 years ago.
But 2022, people still thought it was a good idea. So we're all good. And in 2023, people still thought it was a good idea. And then last week, people absolutely thought it was a good idea. So this is the thing that people are saying that these things are a good idea, but core is having to do so many of these features. So
yes,
if these little blocks are starting to be adjacently supported and it's kind of being worked out, like what is that support from? Like, is it like recognized? How are they maintained? All those kind of conversations are happening. I can see that would, but if there is a social, if there's that icon block currently that is being made by Mary or Martha or Vera or whatever, that you think you could partner with, great, do that. The more people that do it, maybe that becomes the standard that people use. And that, that could be really good. Again, partnering, even if it's a paid one, say like, hey, this is worth the money for my people to kind of be partnered with. I think those are kind of all really good conversations to have as well. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. All right. That was my list. There's a lot to do. Yay! No, I feel good. I feel good. There's stuff to do.
So
and I
got some stuff
I'm clear about. I have some more clarity on what to do.
Cool. So I got some stuff to push. We've got a little bit of time to kind of wrap up. I guess you and me can decide what's the next focus off stream and then kind of wrap up. Yeah.
I know, we'd be good. I can't believe how fast the progress has been made and where it's at now. And I don't know, I'm excited for it.
There's a lot in that thing now. So
yeah.
It's been fun.
I think, and we've been careful, I think, to not add too much. And
I think we got a lot of stuff at the end. So what we can now do is Mary Kondo it and decide what we keep and what we don't keep. And I think that's going to be the interesting bit. Yeah, you've got a lot of possibilities.
I am realizing, like, once the block theme is out, I don't know, it feels harder to change on people. I don't know why than a classic theme felt. I felt like with a classic theme, I could always be like, don't turn that on for them, or that's an optional thing. I feel less like that with a block theme. I don't know why. It is.
It's probably because you want people to have the freedom, a little bit of the new, and you don't want to be like, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. You want people to be like, explore and be free and be. There's a nervousness of like, will people play with it? Will people be okay with it? And a lot of these things are evolving. So like even decisions that we've been making in these few weeks that we've been working, things have changed. Like
Oh my God.
conversations have changed. And that's the way of it, right? Like
It's good. The opposite would be bad.
People are going to meet in a couple of weeks where Camp Asia, and who knows what conversations will be. I may have a conversation with someone, and someone will be like, "This is the way that we do patterns." I'll be like, "Well, that's a better way."
Help me, like Kim.
Oh no! A good example is when we got into short code. We even like many times we thought, "Oh no, you can't do something." We've even spoken to someone, "Oh no, you can't," and then the third or fourth person that we've spoken to have been like, "Oh no, this is how you do it." So it's not. A lot of this knowledge is maybe someone's tried it, or maybe someone's evolving it, or they haven't documented it, but we're all kind of learning and getting there.
Yeah.
And it's about that documentation and it being named and shared and surface. It's getting there. We're starting to get some clarity with things, but you are working in the awkward space in the beautiful way. And shaking, like, it's very simple to just create a theme and not have to worry about semantic and not have to worry about supporting anything. It's not so easy when we talk about doing it at this scale.
Yeah, that's good. It's okay. And I don't know, this will stay like alpha, I want to keep it as long as possible in that awkward stage so that I can keep making the right decisions for the theme before I'm like, this is it.
And people will tell you, people will be like,
1.0.
nah, you'll be like, I think the Light in the Dark festival is really good. And then people telling you whatever colors they want. Then maybe like, maybe you can go with like the basic colors. Someone's going to want a blue, someone's going to want a yellow or whatever. Like think of like the accessibility and like where the worst color combinations are for people. And maybe providing those. I think that's kind of where I'm settling with at the moment. It's so easy to create a theme JSON with color variations, so you kind of want to do more of them.
Yes, and it's an excellent test I'm finding to launch your theme with styles built in, because it helps you make sure that the theme itself is actually adaptable. And I'm finding that with another project is that we made a theme that's not so adaptable. And if it's hard for us to make theme styles for it, it's hard for anyone to add colors to it. Like
I did that at the weekend. I basically this theme that I'm trying to do, light and dark combination, which is not as easy. And then I was like, okay, this doesn't work. Okay, well the only way I can do this is by having a light and dark sheet, and then just literally having it polar opposite, and then detach it. Still not quite got there. I haven't even got down to the semantic because I've been using it as a sketchbook, but it's getting it there. Again, the headings are also something like if you want to have proper heading structure, you really have to be quite strict with what you lock in and what you don't lock in. We haven't even got into that in your template, what patterns are locked, what patterns are not locked, because it would be very easy to put like a H2 lower than a H4. Or and then someone really be and
I mean one person I talked to, an SEO, said that on the homepage of your site, your blog name, your logo should be the H1, and then on interior pages the page titles should be.
And how do you do that within the editor experience?
How do you do that in your blog theme? I don't know.
That's a good question.
I can do it in classic theme.
But that again, I think you can do some of this with wrappers. But again, I think this is where a lot of the SEO plugins are going to be, where they give advice to blog themes is where it's going to be helpful. Because we can't have that blog themes are like ignoring, or that blog themes don't do it. It's going to be where they pause and give advice and say, you've got a blog theme. I recognize that you've got that. Well, this is a snippet, or this is a bit of information that you can use to do it. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we necessarily have got that information, but I think we're getting there with that knowledge of like where the block things don't, by default, don't have it, and then where they can do it. It's not that a block theme has to have it. And the classic themes don't all have it either.
They
And I
don't.
think that's
No.
really important to say. It's not
Yeah,
that
this
it
isn't
doesn't
just
have
an
it.
epidemic of block. No.
No. I think it's more that a lot of people, because of underscores and because of the way that they were writing it, they were using templates over and over again, and they don't have that prior art when they're using block themes, because they don't have the prior art of that is SEO compatible and all those kind of things.
Right.
And if you don't have that, you easily don't remember how you do it, if that makes sense. I don't. I can't remember how I do a function, and like all of it. I've noticed like so many other people, like we're copying and pasting way more than we ever did before, because we are so used. Because we're so used to before using underscores or whatever. I love it because it exposes me to more theme authors, and I love it, and I think it's amazing. But it makes me want to get more of those snippets and more of that availability.
Right.
I love that I can share more theme authors through streams like this, but it means that Create Block needs to have more good snippets if we're going to be using it a little bit more. So
as like the underscores of block themes. Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time today. We'll connect on Slack and figure it out. But thanks everyone for watching. This was a long stream. We'll leave it. We'll try to like timestamp it with some things. But that was day 3. The repository, you can go cashflowtheme.com. We'll give you links to the GitHub repository and play. Have fun. Thanks everybody. Bye.